Hello and welcome, fellow sovereigns. I can never quite tell when this is starting because there's so many bits and pieces going on. Anyway, so hello and welcome. And do you ever find that your plans change? Well, they don't. We allow them to change. And that's what I've done here. So I had done two previous podcasts, Facebook Lives, about conversations and how we receive them. And I was going to do the third and last today. But anyway, three other things happened, and I decided that it feels like this is an opportune time to bring those in. So there are three things that are apparently unrelated. One is about a writer, Pitt Williams, one is about a Jamaican proverb saying, and one is about my renovations that I did yesterday. Yeah, totally unrelated. But anyway, there is a connection which will reveal itself in a moment. So chronologically, if you like, the first was that about a week ago I listened to an interview with the writer Pitt Williams, who wrote the Dictionary of Lost Words and the Bookbinder of Jericho. Long interview, and one little bit of it she was talking about, she was asked if she had a word limit. Does she aspire to write so many words a day? She said she started that way. Started with 1,000 words. She set herself 1,000 words a day. And the first day she failed. She did less than 1,000. So she thought, maybe I'll make it 500. And then the next day she did less than 500. This is whatever was going on. Anyway, over time she's been whittling it down. So she's now set a word budget per day of 1 word per day. If she writes 1 word, she's happy. She's successful. And somehow she's written 2 books and she's on to another one. 1 word a day. I'm sure most days she writes more than 1, but the budget is 1. The other thing that happened this morning, I had coffee with a friend, and on the wall in the cafe was a sign that said, "1 coco full basket." My Jamaican accent is dreadful, I think. Anyway, what it means, 1 coco full basket, means 1 cocoa at a time fills the basket. So, when we've got a lot of cocoa to pick and put in the basket, it can seem overwhelming. But if we do one at a time, eventually the basket's full. And so Pip does 1 word a day. Well, at least 1 word a day. The cocoa pickers do 1 cocoa at a time. So the other thing is that as a writer, or us writers, we're generally categorized into one of 2 categories. Either we're planners or we're pentsters. So planners are the people who plan their work, plan their book before they write it. And John Grisham is the ultimate planner. He does the storyboard thing as they do with movies. He writes a storyboard of each not just chapter, but each almost paragraph, and he knows exactly who's going to turn up and who's going to be there at the end and how it's going to end and all of the different things that are going to happen. And he has this amazing story planned on writing on his big board that he does. And then he starts writing the novel. So he's the planner. The others are pantsters, and that word comes from the idea of flying by the seat of your pants. So one of the most famous ones, I suppose, Stephen King. He starts writing around about 4:30 each morning. He sits down with typewriter, had no idea what's going to happen, and he just starts typing. Whatever comes out is what comes out. And he never knows what's going to happen 1 minute to the next, 1 paragraph to the next. He never knows how it's going to end. He never knows who's going to turn up during the story until they turn up. Never knows what's going to happen until it happens almost. So they're the kind of the extremes of planners and pentsters. And of course there's a whole range of people in the middle. Some are sort of half and half and some are whatever. So I'm a pantster. I sit down and write, And I have no idea. Often it's an article which might only be 1,000 words, might only be 500 words. And I've written short stories of 53 words. And when I start, I don't know what's going to happen at the end. And I love that. I love the idea that the void or the whatever's out there that for me it's unknown will turn up. So when I start writing, I don't need to know. I get this word and then another word or a paragraph or a phrase, and so I write it down and away, and the next one turns up, then the next one turns up. And that's so often how it happens in life. One coffee bean at a time, one word at a time. And so life kind of happens like that. And for most of us, I think, we're not necessarily pantsters, because some people are very good at planning their lives, and sometimes it happens per the plan. Sometimes it doesn't. And if we can be okay with it not working, then that's okay. It's when we get upset that our plans don't work, is our issue, no one else's issue. So we can choose not to be upset when plans change. And yesterday I spent the day in the 33 degree Fahrenheit heat, which is something over 100 centigrade. Kind of crazy outside, painting and out with the skill saw and the drill and rust proofing and wire brushing and all sorts of things. And so I painted. I got a big fence, about a 6'6" fence around my deck. So, and underneath my deck, there's been a length of corrugated iron about that wide, and it's been lying there for years. And I've always had the thought, why don't I get it out and just put it across, like at an angle in the front of my fairly plain fence that goes around my deck. So eventually, yesterday I did it. So I had to wire brush it and get the rust proof off it, and then I painted it a couple of times and stuck it up. And that's it. I know there's more going to happen. But being a pantster, I don't have a great ability to see the final product. And so I know that if I get an idea that's incomplete, that's okay. So I've now got the start of a new kind of, I want to make it sort of a bit funky and arty and whatever. So I've painted the fence. Now I put up this bit of angle metal, white on brown. And so now I will just wait and see what the next idea is. So some people can see the final thing. They can see this final, what it's going to look like in the end. That's not how I'm built. And I've got used to it. In fact, I quite like it. I quite like the idea of, I put some little thing up and someone said to me this morning, oh, what are you going to do here? And I said, well, it's actually not up to me. I'm just standing back, being empty and allowing the next part of the design to come to me. And that might come through what somebody tells me, might come through an image I'll see somewhere, someone else's garden, fence, whatever. Might be something in a movie, something out of a book, something, whatever. The idea will come. I know that. So I have an incomplete artwork, just as I have lots of incomplete stories that I start and then off they go. So I know that nothing would happen to my fence. It will never get finished if I didn't do that first bit. Some people wait till they know the answer, till they know the final outcome. But for most of us, we don't know the final outcome. All we've got to do is step out and go, oh, here's an impulse. Let's do this. Here's another impulse. Oh, there's another idea. Step by step. And so, people talk about our lives being work in progress, work in process. They always are. They're never complete. There's always something else to add. There's always something else to kind of dream up. But if we don't take that first little step, whether it's a word a day, whether it's a cocoa in the basket, whether it's just a bit of iron slapped up on the wall, waiting for the next piece of cocoa, or cocoa bean, or the next word, or the next whatever, a bit of imagination to come. If we don't take that first step, the second step won't turn up, and therefore the third, and so on. The final won't turn up. And it simply behoves us to listen to this, sometimes apparently illogical impulse, idea, inspiration, call it what you like, and take action on it. Do this little thing today. Write this word today. Write this phrase today. Put this little bit of iron up, whatever it is. Paint this wall, whatever colour that comes to you, and the rest will turn up. So while there are very good planners around, particularly with writing, because that's something that can be constructed, and people like, was it Michelangelo was asked about sculpture and how did he know what to carve out of stone, and he said he could see the final sculpture, and all he needed to do was take away that which wasn't the sculpture. I think it was Michelangelo, it might have been Rodin. Anyway, so some people can see the final version, the final outcome, but many of us, we can't. We're not meant to, because part of the wonderful exercise of being in this world, in this life, is simply to experience it. And yes, it takes a lot of trust. It takes a lot of accepting that we are not in control, that all of the answers don't need to come from us. Sometimes they'll come from somebody else. Sometimes they'll just come in a dream, in something that flows through our brain. But we don't have to have control in every moment. And when we can give up control and take a little step today, and another little step tomorrow, and another little step the next day, the plan will unfold, and possibly, if we allow it, we need to allow it. Oh, giving up control. If we allow it, the bigger plan, a better plan, will sometimes evolve beyond the one that we thought was the best one. So, one bean at a time, one word at a time, one whatever, installation at a time, one little idea at a time. It does require us to go from mind to body, to actually take action, to write that word down, to paint the fence, to do whatever it is. And then the next thing will happen. But we need to go from mind to body. Thought it, do it. Don't keep thinking it, and waiting for the perfect answer, because the perfect answer probably won't come. The perfect answer is waiting for your work, for your getting off your bum. I'm trying to think of another word. It can't come. So the getting off the bumness is part of what's required. We need to listen to our heart, or the inspiration. We need to then exercise the body and do something towards it. So I remember one of the courses I used to run about helping people find their passion. And so one of the women, her aspiration was to bring import Spanish horses into New Zealand. And so this course ran on 2 Sundays. So after the first Sunday, they were all given some homework to do over the week to take them towards their goal that they had come up with, their aspiration, their life meaning as such. And this woman was stumped. She said, I can't start getting horses into New Zealand in a week. And I said, no, 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 no. Start with one thing. What can you do in a week? Well, it's no. One thing. And so we brainstormed it, and she could have done some research on the what do you call it when you're bringing animals into a country? Quarantine. So she was tasked with researching the quarantine details of New Zealand Spanish horses into New Zealand. She also was tasked with finding other freight options, how to get them in, and who can do that for her. So there was something she could do during that week. So she wasn't going to bring Spanish horses into New Zealand in a week, but she found some steps to do. She had to do the research. And by the end of the week, the following week, if you like, the next session, she was so bowled over because she'd done a couple of very small steps, and somehow, outside of that, if you like, she had bumped into somebody who had already imported some other animals. I think it was llamas or something. And so through that other person, all these ideas and contacts with freight companies came up. And I suspect that if she had not done that research, she might not have met this person who gave her the extra stuff. And so sometimes when we do the work, get off our bums, and do something towards it, then the next step turns up, and then the next, and then the next. However, when we do nothing, and we think about it, and we stew on it, and wait for the final answer, the universe is going, well, you're waiting, so we'll wait. And while you're waiting, the universe is waiting. And who's going first? The universe has given you the answer. One little answer, one little step. And when you've taken that step, the universe will provide the next and the next. How simple is that? Because everyone's done their New Year's resolutions, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do that. And that's fine if it works for you. They don't work for me because I'm a pantster. Pantsers don't really do resolutions and plans and targets. I mean, I do have one about being happy, and being fulfilled, and being connected. Kind of emotional ones. But in terms of creating my physical world around me, I'm a little bit loose, as are many people, and it's okay not to know what your resolutions are. Because possibly them out there, whatever we call them, have bigger plans than you have at the moment. So instead of stewing over the fact that you haven't done your resolution or you've failed the first one, just listen to the next impulse and do it. And leave it. And the next one. And the next one. This little thing that can be done in a day. Day by day, word by word, coffee bean by coffee bean, or cocoa bean, is it? And that's it. So I wish you action on your next impulse, and let me know how it works out. And I bless you and all who sail in her.